The first words my new boss said to me were, "You're fired." I stood there in shock, coffee still warm in my hand. Oscar Kennedy had bought our company just 3 days ago. I was Benjamin Robertson, head of client relations for 15 years. I'd built most of our biggest accounts from nothing. But Oscar didn't care about that. "Pack your desk," he said, not even looking up from his phone. "Security will escort you out in 10 minutes. His voice was cold, like he was ordering lunch. I set my coffee down, hands shaking slightly. Around me, my team watched in silence. These people had worked under me for years. We'd celebrated birthdays, worked late nights together, shared pizza during crunch time. "Sir, maybe we could discuss this," I started. Oscar finally looked up. His eyes were pale blue, empty. "There's nothing to discuss. Dead weight belongs in the trash." The words hit me like a physical blow. Dead weight. After 15 years of perfect performance reviews. After bringing in millions in revenue. After missing my daughter's school plays to close deals for this company. Security appeared at my elbow. 2 guards I'd known for years, now avoiding eye contact. "Sorry, Ben," one whispered. The walk to my desk felt like a death march. Every step echoed in the suddenly quiet office. My team members watched from their cubicles, some with tears in their eyes. Karen from accounting covered her mouth with her hands. Tony from marketing shook his head in disbelief. I had 15 years of memories in that desk drawer. Photos of my family, awards from the company, thank you cards from clients. I stuffed them into a cardboard box with shaking hands. The security guards waited patiently, but I could feel their discomfort. They'd been to my barbecues. Their kids played with mine. "This is wrong," whispered Susan from HR. She'd processed my employee reviews for a decade. Every single one rated exceptional. Oscar had fired the most successful account manager in company history without even reading my file. As I picked up my family photo, my desk phone rang. The caller ID showed Kennedy Industries, Oscar's personal line. I let it ring. Whatever game he was playing, I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of begging for my job back. I had my dignity, even if I just lost everything else. The box felt heavier than it should have. 15 years of loyalty, reduced to cardboard and memories. One coworker whispered, "You didn't deserve this, but there's something you should know." At home, I sat at my kitchen table staring at the cardboard box. My wife Jessica found me there 2 hours later, still in my work clothes, still holding that family photo. The house was too quiet. Our kids were at school, unaware that their father had just become unemployed. 15 years, I said to Jessica. Gone like I was nothing. My voice cracked on the words. I'd never been fired before. Never even gotten a written warning. I was the guy who solved problems, who stayed late to finish projects, who took client calls during family dinners because the company needed me. Jessica sat beside me and took my hand. "Tell me what happened." So I did. I told her about Oscar's cold eyes, about being called dead weight, about the humiliating walk past my team. I told her how security had watched me clean out my desk like I was a criminal. "That man doesn't know what he just threw away," Jessica said quietly. Her voice had an edge I rarely heard. "He fired the best employee that company ever had." She squeezed my hand tighter. "So what are you going to do about it?" I looked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" Jessica's eyes flashed with something fierce. "Then prove you're not nothing." The phone rang at 7 that evening. It was Edward from sales, my old office buddy. "Ben, I had to call you. Oscar's already bragging that you were dead weight. He told the whole leadership team that firing you was his first smart business decision." I gripped the phone tighter. "He said that?" Edward's voice was angry. Word for word. Said the company would be more profitable without dragging along old has-beens. Ben, the guy's been here 3 days and he's already making enemies. I thought about Oscar's smug face, his casual cruelty. How he'd destroyed my career without a second thought. How he'd humiliated me in front of people who respected me. What else is he saying? I asked. That anyone loyal to the old management is next. Half the team is updating their resumes tonight. Edward paused. Ben, this isn't right. You built this place. You made us who we are. After hanging up, I sat in my garage, staring at tools I'd used to build my daughter's treehouse. My hands clenched into fists. If that's what he thinks, I said to the empty air, let's see how he survives without me. My phone buzzed the next morning. Unknown number, but I recognized the voice immediately. Ben? This is Preston from Hartwell Manufacturing. I heard what happened. Preston had been my client for 8 years. His company gave us $3 million in business annually. Word travels fast, I said, embarrassed. Preston, I want you to know that even though I'm no longer with, he cut me off. Ben, we stayed with the company because of you. Not him. You saved our account twice when other departments screwed up. You personally flew to Detroit when our production line went down. I remembered that trip. Missed my anniversary dinner, but got Hartwell back online in 18 hours. That's my job, Preston. Was my job. Preston's voice got serious. Here's the thing, Ben. Your replacement called yesterday. Some kid who doesn't know a purchase order from a parking ticket. And Oscar's been calling our CEO, making promises he can't keep. My pulse quickened. What kind of promises? Preston was quiet for a moment. He's lying to everyone, Ben. Numbers that don't add up, contracts that don't exist. The man's desperate to look good fast. He leaned closer to his phone. And Oscar is lying to the board. Want proof? I met Preston at a small cafe downtown, away from anywhere Oscar might have eyes. Preston looked tired, stressed. This is bigger than just firing you, Ben. Oscar's been inflating numbers to make himself look good. He told our CEO he could cut our costs by 30% while increasing service quality. I stirred my coffee, thinking. That's mathematically impossible with their current structure. Preston nodded grimly. Exactly. But he's promised it to 6 of your biggest clients. When he can't deliver, those accounts will walk. Your old company will lose everything. The irony wasn't lost on me. Oscar fired me to look decisive, but he'd need someone like me to keep those promises. Why are you telling me this? Preston leaned back. Because you're the best account manager I've ever worked with. And because watching good people get destroyed by corporate politics makes me sick. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside, people hurried past with their normal lives, their secure jobs. I thought about Oscar's smug face, his casual cruelty. I swirled my coffee slowly. I won't just move on. I'll take him down. That night, I sat alone in my study, holding my old company ID badge. Benjamin Robertson, Senior Account Manager. The photo was 5 years old, back when I still believed loyalty meant something. Back when I thought hard work guaranteed security. I thought about every late night, every weekend spent working while my family waited. Every client dinner that meant missing my son's baseball games. I'd given that company everything, and Oscar had thrown it away in 60 seconds. My laptop sat open beside me, blank document on the screen. I could write my resume, start sending it around, try to find another job where some other Oscar could fire me on a whim. Or I could do something else. Something that would make Oscar regret the day he ever heard my name. I looked at the badge one more time, then dropped it into the trash can beside my desk. The plastic made a small clicking sound as it hit the bottom. That sound felt like freedom. That sound felt like a declaration of war. Time for war, I said to the empty room. And for the first time since Oscar fired me, I smiled. Within 3 days, I had a job interview. Kennedy's biggest competitor, Blackstone Industries, had called within hours of my resume hitting their inbox. "We've been watching your work for years," said the hiring manager, Arthur. "When we heard Oscar fired you, we couldn't believe his stupidity." The interview was more of a celebration. They'd already verified my track record, already called my old clients for references. Every single one had praised my work. "Oscar Kennedy is an idiot," Arthur said bluntly. "And we're going to benefit from his mistakes." They offered me a position as Director of Strategic Accounts, a promotion from my old job, with 30% higher salary. But the best part was what Arthur said next: "We want you to go after Kennedy Industries' biggest clients. You built those relationships. Now let's see if they'll follow you." I signed the contract that afternoon. As I shook Arthur's hand, he smiled. Let's give Oscar a problem he can't solve. Walking out of Blackstone's headquarters, I felt alive for the first time in weeks. Oscar thought he'd destroyed me. Instead, he'd just made me dangerous. My old coworkers started reaching out within days. Not officially, they couldn't risk their jobs. But late-night text messages, encrypted emails, casual encounters at coffee shops. They told me everything. Oscar was making reckless decisions, ignoring advice from senior staff, treating everyone like incompetent children. He fired 3 more people yesterday, texted Karen from accounting. Anyone who questioned his new policies. Susan from HR sent me photos of resignation letters, 7 in 2 weeks. The brain drain was accelerating. But the most valuable intelligence came from Tony in marketing. Oscar's cutting costs everywhere. Cancelled the client appreciation events you organized. Eliminated the customer service team. He thinks relationships don't matter, only profit margins. I forwarded everything to my new team at Blackstone. We were building a complete picture of Kennedy Industries' vulnerabilities. Every cost cut Oscar made was an opportunity for us to look better by comparison. Every relationship he damaged was a client we could steal. Then Tony sent something that made my blood run cold. He's hiding something bigger. Much bigger, he wrote. Found some weird expenses buried in the books. Cash payments to companies that don't seem to exist. The message came from an address I didn't recognize, but the signature gave it away: Monica, Oscar's personal assistant. I'd known her for 3 years before Oscar arrived. She was smart, loyal, and she just risked her job to contact me. "Ben, I can't watch him destroy everything we built. What he's doing isn't right, and it's not legal." My phone buzzed with an encrypted email attachment. I've been copying files. Financial records, private emails, meeting minutes. Oscar thinks I'm just his secretary, but I see everything. The files were damning. Fake invoices, inflated expenses, money moving to shell companies. Oscar wasn't just bad at his job, he was stealing. The company I'd served for 15 years was being looted by the man who'd fired me for being dead weight. Monica's next message was even more specific: company credit cards used for personal expenses. Luxury cars leased under fake departments. A penthouse apartment that doesn't appear on any official budget. She was giving me ammunition for a war I was already planning to fight. Her final message made me smile: start with these files. There's more where that came from. Let's take him down. Our first victory came faster than expected. Hartwell Manufacturing's contract was up for renewal, $3 million annually. Preston had been hinting for weeks that he was unhappy with Kennedy's new management. When Blackstone submitted our proposal, I made sure it was perfect. We didn't just match Kennedy's offer, we exceeded it. Better service terms, faster response times, personal account management. Everything Oscar was cutting from Kennedy's operations, we promised to deliver. Preston signed with us that afternoon. I was in Arthur's office when Oscar called Preston, screaming about contract theft and unfair competition. Preston's response was legendary. "You fired the best account manager in the industry. Did you think he'd just disappear?" The call ended with Oscar slamming his desk so hard that Monica heard it from the next room. She texted me immediately, "Who did we lose it to?" followed by 3 angry face emojis. Oscar was learning that actions have consequences. That evening, I celebrated with Jessica and the kids. $3 million in new business for Blackstone, and Oscar's first major loss as CEO. But this was just the beginning. Oscar called me directly the next morning. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. His voice was tight with rage. "Back off, Robertson. You're stealing my clients." I couldn't help but laugh. "Your clients? Preston was my client for 8 years. You had him for 2 weeks. I'm warning you," Oscar continued. "Stop interfering with my business or you'll regret it." The threat was obvious, but empty. "What are you going to do, Oscar? Fire me again?" I kept my voice calm, professional. "You already took everything you could take." There was silence on the line. Oscar had played his biggest card, my job, and now he had nothing left. "This isn't over," he said finally. "Actually, it is," I replied. "You ended it when you called me dead weight. Now you get to live with what that costs." After hanging up, I sat back in my new office at Blackstone. Through my window, I could see Kennedy Industries across the street. Oscar was probably in his corner office right now, realizing that firing me had been the biggest mistake of his career. "You already fired me," I said to the empty air. "What more can you take?" Oscar's rage was destroying what remained of Kennedy's culture. Monica sent me daily updates, screaming matches in meetings, impossible deadlines, threats to fire anyone who questioned his decisions. The man was unraveling, and he was taking the company down with him. "He fired half the sales team yesterday," Monica texted. "Said they weren't aggressive enough." These were people with 15, 20 years of experience. The remaining employees were walking on eggshells, afraid to speak up, afraid to breathe wrong. But Oscar's biggest mistake was firing Jessica Chong, the company's best project manager. Jessica had been with Kennedy for 12 years, had never missed a deadline, had saved more troubled projects than anyone could count. Oscar fired her for questioning his vision during a team meeting. Within hours, Jessica had called me. Within days, she was working at Blackstone. And she brought something valuable, inside knowledge of every major project Kennedy was working on. We knew their timelines, their weak points, their client concerns. The board was finally taking notice. Monica overheard fragments of heated phone calls. "We might have a problem on our hands," one board member said. But Oscar was too arrogant to see the warning signs. The files Monica sent that week were explosive. Oscar's expense reports showed luxury car rentals charged to client entertainment, hotel suites in Miami during business conferences that no one else attended, dinners at 5-star restaurants with no business purpose listed. But one expense caught my attention: a monthly payment to a property management company in downtown. $12,000 a month for a corporate housing that wasn't listed in any official company records. I did some digging and found the address, a luxury penthouse in the most expensive part of the city. Who's it really for? I wondered. Oscar lived in a mansion in the suburbs with his wife and kids. Why would he need corporate housing downtown? Unless the pieces started fitting together. The late nights, the mysterious expenses, the defensive attitude when questioned about his schedule. Monica confirmed my suspicions in her next message: "Oscar's been bringing someone to the office after hours. Young woman, not an employee." They used the executive conference room. My investigation was revealing something much bigger than simple corporate theft. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about Oscar using company resources to fund a secret life his wife knew nothing about. The recording Monica sent was crystal clear. Oscar's voice, captured during a board meeting when he thought she was out of the room. The board are idiots. They ask the right questions, but they're too scared to act. I could steal twice as much and they'd never fire me. In the background, another voice, Oscar's friend from college who'd been hired as strategic consultant despite having no relevant experience. What about the Robertson situation? His new company is stealing our clients. Oscar laughed coldly. Robertson's finished. Once I destroy his reputation, no client will touch him. The arrogance was breathtaking. Oscar thought he was untouchable, thought his position gave him immunity from consequences. He was planning to destroy me professionally while stealing from the company that employed him. But he'd forgotten one crucial detail: I had allies inside his organization. I played the recording for Arthur, who whistled low. This is enough to destroy him. Industrial espionage, corporate theft, conspiracy to damage a competitor. Arthur looked at me with respect. You've built quite a case here. I smiled at the audio file on my computer screen. Not for long. The investigative journalist's name was Patricia Volkov, and she specialized in corporate corruption. I'd found her through Jessica, who'd gone to college with Patricia's sister. This is exactly the kind of story I live for, Patricia said over lunch. Corrupt CEO destroys his own company through greed and stupidity. I handed her copies of everything Monica had provided: financial records, expense reports, audio recordings, email chains. Patricia's eyes lit up as she reviewed the documents. This is bigger than one man's ego, she said. This is systematic corporate looting. She explained how she'd verify everything, how she'd contact board members for comment, how she'd trace the money trail to its conclusion. The penthouse lease is particularly interesting. If he's using company funds for personal relationships, that's a serious crime. Patricia had exposés in 3 major business publications and a financial news website. When her articles published, Oscar's crimes would be public knowledge. His reputation would be destroyed, his career over, his freedom potentially at stake. As we shook hands outside the restaurant, Patricia grinned. When this drops, he won't survive it. The headline hit the business news at 6 a.m. Kennedy Industries CEO caught misusing company funds for personal expenses. Patricia's article was thorough, devastating, and completely factual. Every claim was backed by documentation, every quote verified through multiple sources. The story spread like wildfire. Financial blogs picked it up, social media exploded with outrage. Kennedy Industries' stock price began dropping within hours of publication. I watched from my office at Blackstone as reporters gathered outside Kennedy's headquarters. Monica texted me a photo from inside, Oscar throwing a crystal award at the wall of his office. Hi. Hers was finally facing destruction himself. By noon, 3 more clients had called to cancel their Kennedy contracts. By evening, the company's stock had dropped 22%. The board called an emergency meeting for the following morning. Oscar's empire was crumbling, and everyone could see it happening in real time. I poured myself a scotch that evening and raised a toast to Patricia's excellent journalism. Phase 1 of Oscar's destruction was complete. Blackstone was having its best quarter in company history, and everyone knew why. We'd stolen 6 major contracts from Kennedy Industries in 2 months. Every client who left Oscar's company came to us, bringing their business, their trust, and their relief at working with professionals again. Arthur called me into his office with the latest numbers. $15 million in new contracts this quarter, Ben. You've brought us more business than our entire sales team combined. The promotion offer was generous. Senior Vice President of Strategic Development, a corner office, equity in the company. But the real victory was across the street. Through my new corner office window, I could see Kennedy Industries' parking lot, half empty now. Former employees were leaving daily, finding jobs at competitors who valued loyalty and competence. The brain drain was accelerating. An investor called Oscar that afternoon. Monica recorded the conversation. "Lose one more major client and we're pulling our funding," the investor warned. "Your company's reputation is toxic. Nobody wants to do business with Kennedy Industries anymore." That evening, I watched the sunset from my new office, thinking about how quickly fortunes could change. 3 months ago, Oscar had fired me. Now he was losing everything while I thrived. The viral video appeared on social media Tuesday morning. Someone had recorded Oscar screaming at his remaining employees during a staff meeting, calling them incompetent, threatening to fire anyone who couldn't perform at excellence levels. His face was red, his tie crooked, his carefully maintained professional image completely destroyed. Within hours, the video had been shared thousands of times. The internet loved watching powerful people lose control, and Oscar's meltdown was particularly satisfying. Users dubbed him the office tyrant and created memes from his most outrageous quotes. The comments were brutal but accurate. "This is how you treat people when you think you're untouchable. Imagine working for this psychopath. Karma is beautiful." The video humanized Oscar's victims while exposing his true character to the world. Monica sent me screenshots of Oscar's attempts to have the video removed. Every social media platform denied his requests. The video was newsworthy, showed public behavior, and revealed information relevant to investor decisions. It was staying online permanently. By evening, major business publications were embedding the video in articles about corporate culture and leadership failure. Oscar's humiliation was complete and permanent. Monica's revelation came through an encrypted message at midnight. "That penthouse? It's for his mistress. Her name is Samantha Chen, she's 24, works as a marketing consultant, but never produces any work. Oscar's been paying her salary and rent with company money for 8 months." The screenshots that followed were damning: bank transfers, text message chains, photos of Oscar and Samantha at expensive restaurants during business hours. He wasn't just stealing from the company, he was using shareholder money to fund an affair while his wife raised their children at home. The paper trail was extensive and stupid. Oscar had used company credit cards for jewelry purchases, luxury vacations, and designer clothes, all for Samantha. He'd created fake invoices to justify the expenses, listing payments to non-existent consulting firms that were actually cash transfers to her personal account. Monica had been documenting everything for months, probably planning to use the information for her own protection if Oscar ever turned on her. Instead, she was giving me the ammunition to destroy him completely. This wasn't about business competition anymore. This was about exposing a man who'd betrayed everyone who trusted him, his company, his shareholders, his employees, and his family. Patricia's second exposé was even more devastating than the first. Kennedy Industries CEO funds mistress with company money dominated business headlines for 3 days. The article included financial records, communication logs, and photographic evidence of Oscar's double life. The story had everything: corporate corruption, personal betrayal, massive amounts of money, and a young mistress. Financial news channels ran segments about it, business schools assigned it as a case study in executive misconduct, and social media exploded with outrage and schadenfreude. Kennedy Industries stock crashed immediately. Major investors dumped their shares, suppliers demanded payment upfront, and banking partners froze the company's credit lines. The board called Oscar's office every hour, demanding explanations he couldn't provide. But the most satisfying part was watching Oscar's personal life implode. His wife filed for divorce that afternoon, his country club revoked his membership, and his children's private school asked him to find alternative education arrangements. He'd lost everything that mattered to him. Monica sent me a final photo: Oscar gripping his phone with white knuckles as it rang incessantly. The board meeting was starting in an hour, and everyone knew what the outcome would be. Kennedy Industries' stock price hit a 2-year low that morning. Major clients were fleeing, employees were quitting daily, and the company's reputation was permanently destroyed. The board had no choice but to act decisively to save what remained of the business. Oscar's desperate phone call came at 3 in the afternoon. His voice was different, smaller, scared, defeated. "Ben, I need to talk to you. It's urgent." I let him sweat through 30 seconds of silence before responding. "What can I do for you, Oscar? The board is meeting tonight. They're going to vote me out." His voice cracked slightly. "The company is hemorrhaging money, clients are leaving, the press is destroying us." Another long pause. "I know I made mistakes." Mistakes. That's what he was calling fraud, theft, and personal betrayal. "Here's the thing, Ben. You know this company better than anyone. You built most of our client relationships. If you came back, if you helped me fix this mess, I could make it worth your while." The desperation was obvious now. There was only one person who could save Kennedy Industries from complete collapse, and Oscar had fired him 3 months ago. The irony was absolutely perfect. My phone kept ringing in my hand as I smiled. "Help me," Oscar whispered into the phone. "I'll pay you anything. Double your old salary, equity in the company, complete control over client relations. Just come back and help me save this." The man who'd called me dead weight was now begging for my rescue. I let him finish his offer before responding. "That's generous, Oscar. Very generous." Hope crept into his voice. "So you'll consider it? Ben, I know we got off on the wrong foot, but we can fix this. We can rebuild." The silence stretched between us as I considered his offer. Return to Kennedy Industries as their savior, rebuild the client relationships I'd created, restore the company's reputation through my personal credibility. It was possible. Difficult, but possible. "There's just one problem," I said finally. "What's that?" Oscar asked eagerly. "You fired me. Remember?" The words hit him like a physical blow. "You called me dead weight. You had security escort me out like a criminal. You told everyone I was holding the company back. Ben, please. I was wrong. I admit it. I made a terrible mistake." His voice was breaking now. "Oscar," I said calmly, "you destroyed my career without a second thought. Why would I save yours?" The line went dead. The board meeting lasted 4 hours, but the outcome was decided in the first 20 minutes. Oscar tried to defend his actions, blame his failures on market conditions and competitive pressure, but the evidence was overwhelming. Fraud, embezzlement, corporate espionage, personal misconduct. His crimes were documented and undeniable. The vote was unanimous. Oscar Kennedy was immediately terminated as CEO, stripped of all company benefits, and permanently banned from any future involvement with Kennedy Industries. Security was called to escort him from the building, the same security guards who'd walked me out 3 months earlier. Monica Liv texted the entire proceeding. "His face is white. He's trying not to cry. The board members won't even look at him." Then, security just arrived. "They're asking for his badge, his keys, his company phone. Finally, he's walking past the cubicles now. Everyone's watching. Nobody's saying goodbye." The local news ran footage of Oscar leaving Kennedy Industries for the last time, carrying a cardboard box containing his personal items. The same humiliating walk I'd been forced to make, broadcast on television for the entire city to see. Justice had a poetic sense of timing. 6 months later, I stood in my corner office at Blackstone Industries, watching the sunrise over a city where I'd rebuilt my career from nothing. Senior Vice President of Strategic Development, Equity Partner, and architect of the most successful competitive campaign in our company's history. Kennedy Industries had been sold to a private equity firm for 20 cents on the dollar. Most of the employees found jobs elsewhere, many of them at Blackstone. The company I'd served for 15 years no longer existed, destroyed by the man who'd fired me for being dead weight. Oscar faced criminal charges for embezzlement and fraud. His wife had divorced him, taking half of his remaining assets. His mistress had testified against him in exchange for immunity. His reputation was permanently destroyed, his career finished, his future uncertain. I thought about that moment 3 months ago when he'd called me dead weight, when he'd had me escorted out like a criminal, when he'd smugly destroyed 15 years of loyal service. The man who'd fired me had lost everything, while I'd gained everything that mattered. Jessica joined me at the window, coffee in hand. "Any regrets?" she asked. I smiled, remembering Oscar's final desperate phone call. "Never mistake loyalty for weakness," I said. "Because the people you step on will be the ones watching when you fall." The sunrise looked beautiful from my new corner office.